You rolled out part of your ambitious legislative agenda today, including repealing and replacing Obamacare. I want to talk to you about that. I also want to get your reaction to Donald Trump's major speech today. But first, I want to ask you about the drama unfolding on the House floor. The sit-in is because you won't bring this to a vote. House Democrats have tried to force a vote on all of this week on the questioning. They're questioning how to prevent those on the terror watch list or the no-fly list from purchasing a gun. Here's a key point. A new CNN poll shows an overwhelming majority of Republicans, look at this, 90% of Republicans support that idea. So why won't you at least allow a vote on this on the floor of the House?
Well, first I would tell you, Wolf, this is nothing more than a publicity stunt. That's point number one. Point number two is this bill was already defeated in the United States Senate. Number three, we are not going to take away a citizen's due process rights. We're not going to take away a citizen's constitutional rights without due process. That was already defeated in the Senate, and this is not a way to try and bring up legislation. Now, let's focus on the issue at hand here, terrorism, and let's find out what we need to do to prevent future terrorist attacks. And if a person is on a terror watch list and they go try to buy a gun, we have procedures in place to deal with that. We want to make sure that those procedures are done correctly, and that's something we should be able to do in a calm and cool manner without these sort of dilatory publicity stunt tactics to try and bring a bill that already died over in the Senate to the House floor.
Well,
that's not any way to bring up the floor.
Why not at least allow a vote, up or down?
Well, first of all, they know that we will not bring a bill that takes away a person's constitutionally guaranteed rights without their due process. We don't agree with that, and the Senate already doesn't agree with that. So I think, look, the point here, Wolf, is this is a publicity stunt. They're trying to get you to ask me those questions for publicity's sake. This isn't trying to come up with a solution to a problem. This is trying to get attention.
As you know, a lot of the critics are blaming the National Rifle Association. We did some checking. Over your 17 years in the Congress, you've received about $36,800 from the NRA. The NRA clearly doesn't support this legislation. Here's the question. Is the NRA the key reason that nothing is happening either in the Senate or in the House of Representatives?
No, the Constitution is.
Explain.
People have a guaranteed right. The Heller case proves it. People have an individual guaranteed right to Second Amendment rights. We're not going to take away a person's constitutionally guaranteed rights without due process. Wolf Blitzer could be thrown on the terror watch list tomorrow, or Wolf Blitzer could be on the no-fly list tomorrow, and with no recourse, and your rights would be infringed upon. We're not going to take away your rights without your due process. That is what the Constitution requires, and we're going to stick with the Constitution. That's why we conservatives do what we do. We think that there are a lot of issues that need to be dealt with here as it relates to terrorism, radical Islamic jihad, homegrown terrorists who are getting radicalized. There's a lot to do here. Let's focus on this. And yes, we do believe that if someone is on a watch list trying to buy a gun, that the authorities need to have the procedures in place so that they're notified and they have a chance to do something about it. We agree with that. And that's what we ought to work on codifying. Instead, looking at publicity stunts. We're not looking at solutions. We're not talking about terrorism. We're talking about gun control, which goes beyond a person's constitutional rights.
The sit-in itself, John Lewis and these other Democrats on the floor, it was really not televised by C-SPAN cameras controlled by you because you called a recess which shuts off those cameras. Some are suggesting you're trying to censor this protest. Are you?
No. Look, this is the way the rules work in the House, and they have ever since we've had TV. We had a similar protest when we were in the minority in 2008. Not only did the cameras not go on, they turned the lights off on us. This is what you do when you go into recess subject to the call of the chair. These are the House rules, and they've been in this way for years.
I want to turn to Donald Trump's major speech today. Were you proud of what he said?
You know, the fact is I've been a little busy today. I haven't even seen the speech or read it. I heard it was a very good speech. That sounds promising, but to be candid with you, Wolf, I've been pretty busy with Zika and many other things that we're trying to work here in Congress. So I didn't read or see the speech, but I have been told by a number of my colleagues that he gave a very good speech, and he gave the kind of speech that you want your nominee to give.
Do you agree with the nominee, the presumptive nominee, that Hillary Clinton, in his words, is a world-class liar?
Yeah, I think she has problems and challenges with the truth, that's for sure. But I do think our nominee needs to focus on the fall. He needs to focus on contrast with Hillary Clinton. And I think that's the kind of contrast that Republicans want to see so we can have the race we need, which is when we can win.
He also said that Hillary Clinton may be the most corrupt person ever to seek the presidency of the United States. Do you agree with him on that?
I don't know. I'd have to look at history, I suppose, but I do think she has a lot to answer for. Look, having a server in your basement, I can go on and on about the Clinton scandals. I think people are a little Clinton scandal fatigued in this country, not to mention the fact that she held herself above the law and above the standards with her emails. So, yeah, I think there are legitimate questions about the veracity of her claims and her conduct with respect to ethical standards. I think that is legitimate territory. And like I said, I didn't hear his speech, but I think it's totally fair game that he questions those things.
Do you think Hillary Clinton's, quote, decisions spread death, destruction, and terrorism everywhere she touched?
Well, I'm not going to give you a tit for tat on a speech I haven't even read or heard. I'm not going to go take things out of context. My understanding is that he gave a good speech dealing with the race and the person he's running against, and that's what he should do. But I'm not going to take little slices of quotes out of a speech that I haven't even seen yet.
He also said the adoption of the Trans-Pacific Partnership would cause the United States, in his words, to lose millions of jobs and our economic independence for good. Do you agree with him on a substantive policy issue like that? Do you agree with him on that?
Right. So I think TPP has got to get worked out to be better. I think it potentially has great promise, but I do believe the administration screwed up a number of key things in TPP. I don't think it's ready to go. I don't think it's ready to pass. I think the administration made some critical mistakes in negotiating this trade agreement, but I do hope we can get a good one. I do hope we can change this agreement to make it a world-class agreement. He says he wants great trade agreements. I also want great trade agreements that are good for America. But what's at stake here is whether or not America writes the rules of global economy with our allies or other countries like China who do not share our values, whether they write the rules of the global economy. That's what's at stake here. But the key here, Wolf, is get it right. And so far, the administration has not done that.
In almost every speech he's given over the past year, there are three main pillars of his speech. He says as president, he wants to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexican border. Mexico would pay for it. He says he wants to deport 11 million undocumented people here in the United States, and he wants to temporarily ban Muslims from entering the United States. He says that in almost all of his speeches. You totally disagree with him on all three of these pillars, right?
Yeah, no, so I've been pretty clear about this. So we obviously don't see eye to eye on everything. We do agree on securing the border. I think there's a better way of securing the border. And actually, if you look at our Better.GOP plan, our Better Way plan, we put out a very comprehensive plan on national security, which also includes border security, albeit differently than the way he's proposing it. And I don't agree with the Muslim ban. I don't agree with the whatever you call mass deportation. But there are a lot of things we do agree on. Look, no two people are going to agree on things. And there's some big things we have disagreement on. I'm not going to sugarcoat this.
These areas,
but there are a lot of areas we do agree on.
You clearly disagree with him on these three main points. So here's the question. If he were president, would you try to block these proposals legislatively? You could block them through the appropriations process. For example, would you take active steps to prevent these three pillars from being implemented?
Well, these are things that have to go through Congress. And I think, look, here's how we see our job in Congress. We are a separate branch of government. We are an equal branch of government. And if you want to change a law, you have to pass a law. Presidents don't write laws. Congress writes laws. And so if you want to change a policy, you have to change a law. And we will have a say-so here in Congress on how those laws will be written. I've been very clear with my views, and as many of my colleagues are as well, about how laws should change. Look, the third thing we put out in our plank on a Better Way agenda is how do we restore the Constitution, Article 1 powers, so that the legislative branch is the one writing the laws, not the executive branch. And so that's something that we believe in, a robust defense of the separation of powers of the Constitution, of government by consent, and not having executives like President Obama is doing, unilaterally writing laws, because that's not the job of presidents. That's the job of Congress. And yes, we will have a strong and huge say-so in how these laws are written.
So it sounds to me, Mr. Speaker, you would try to prevent those three so-called pillars from being implemented legislatively.
Congress will work its will like it does in any situation with any president, and Congress will make its own decisions independent of the executive branch. We, however, though, with our nominee, see more eye to eye, have more common ground than we don't, and we have no common ground, virtually no common ground with Hillary Clinton, that's for sure.